So, Bencb, thanks for joining us today. Good to
My
have you here.
pleasure.
Give us a little
Thanks for inviting me.
brief introduction about yourself, who you are, what you're doing in the poker community at the moment.
So I go by the screen name Bencb. You can also call me Ben. My real name is Benjamin. I'm from Germany, currently living in Vienna. I'm a poker player, but also a poker coach. I'm founder of the poker school Raise Your Edge, also of the esports organization Raise Your Edge Gaming, creating a lot of content for YouTube, creating a community, trying always to produce the best content possible, and still grinding a lot. I mean, a lot is relative, but mostly W Coop, S Coops, Sundays, and trying to stay ahead and be one of the best in the game.
Yeah. I've been watching your content for some time now, and I don't really think there's many people that go into such specific detail as you do in like every single spot. There's so many situations where where I get to, and I'm just like, well, what would Ben CB do in this spot? And because I know I've watched like the masterclass and stuff like that, and I have the masterclass, um, it's so good. It's so good for players. Like I don't know if a new player comes in, maybe it'll be a little bit too advanced for them. But then when you have people who have been playing for some time, and even like the very good players, I feel like the content's unbelievable for
Thank you very
everyone.
much. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, well, I've been playing full time for probably about 5 or 6 years, and I've been using Raise Your Edge since it come about, and a lot of my friends do as well. And as everyone says, you are the goat, so it
Thank
must
you.
it must be easy. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of your courses as well. So if we look online, we see that your classes, you have the Tournament Masterclass and the Bounty Beast. You also
Exactly.
have the Mastering Cash Live and the Crushing Six Max Hypers and Elementary Cash. Um, is the Tournament Masterclass specifically something that you worked on predominantly, or did you work on all of the courses yourself?
I worked on all of the courses apart from the mastering. I mean, I worked on all of them. I helped. So the main phase for the courses are the Total Master class, which I'm mostly working on myself, the mindset course, the Six Max Hyper course, and the other courses I was more in the background, helping to produce the content, trying to guide the coaches. So which would be the Mastering Live Cache, the Elementary Cache game, and the Bounty Beast. Was helping with updating the ranges. Yeah, trying to give as much input as possible. What would be suitable? What would be yeah, the best possible content for someone that is going to learn these formats or wants to increase your win rate in a way that's um, very deep yet explained in the most understandable, most simple way, because it's playing poker and teaching are two different things.
Sure.
And when you turn into a coach and you want to follow the profession of becoming a coach, you have to learn certain things that you might not be aware of, and try to explain thoughts, like even complex things, in a simple way isn't that easy. And I'm also still learning. I'm still trying to improve every day, and sometimes I'm also feeling to be in spots where, yeah, this could be explained in a more simple way. So yeah, the Bounty Beast is produced by Weekray. It's a Raise Your Edge coach. The Mastering Life Cache is produced by Mariano5 and Fallout 86. Also, Cash Game Pros and the Elementary Cash Game was produced actually by me, Fallout, and Neuron, who is an Australian high stakes cash game pro.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a lot of expertise on board helping to produce all that content.
Yeah, it sounds like it's right across the board. Like you've got every single little bit covered, right? Especially like with the six max hypers and stuff like that. Obviously, like maybe 2 years ago, six max hypers were they had a lot more traffic.
Yeah, of
Obviously,
course.
it's died down. It's like sit and goes as well. Like the 180 mans and the 350 rebuys, they had so much more traffic like 2 3 years ago. But like now, they still have traffic. You can still probably play 50 60 comps a day. But like I'm talking back then, you could probably play 150 games a day. But I think it's good that you cover all different sectors and all different areas within poker. In regards to W Coop and Scoop like that, I always see on your Instagram as well, like you're always doing a bit of like boxing or a bit of like physical contact or like some form of exercise. How do you mentally prepare yourself for like a long series? Because obviously a Scoop or a W Coop is like 2 weeks, and the mindset and like I talk about Elliot Rowe quite a lot in my podcast because I think he's unbelievable. Apart from like his very hypnotic voice.
Yeah,
it's scary how one person's voice can just put you in such a trance. But
yeah,
I feel like
that's true.
having like really good mental game is obviously super important for like the W Coop and Scoop and series, and in general, it's very important. How do you personally feel? Like how do you personally prepare yourself during a Scoop or a W Coop?
So my preparation is basically the entire year. I want to have daily routines that always put me in a state where I can be 100% focused, where I can cut out distractions, and where, if needed, I can grind 12 hours in a row without feeling too tired, and I can still feel I have an edge over the field. So I'm not the type of guy that's, slacking and then 2 weeks prior the W coup, okay, now it's time to put in some prep. That just doesn't happen. So my ideal preparation would be that I'm doing all that stuff the entire year anyway, which means meditating on a daily basis, doing my cold showers, being physical active, having a healthy diet. And if I incorporate that in my daily routines, I technically wouldn't need a specific preparation for W Coop,
Sure.
right? I can just go into the W Coop and start grinding. And even for several days, not following my routines at all, because I do it on a daily basis, that my mind is so sharp that I can still execute on a level that allows me to beat my competitors. So I think too many people are also putting the responsibility away for some time. Like, yeah, W Coop is in 1 month. I start my preparation in 2 weeks. That's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? You should always have routines that, let's say, if tomorrow would be W Coop, you're ready. Right? So today is an announcement. Hey, PokerStars decided to start W Coop tomorrow. You would be ready to grind. That would be the perfect preparation. And then, of course, I'm doing more stuff to prepare myself. I'm doing more exercise, and but it's just to get these additional 5 to 10%.
For sure.
It's like working on certain spots, maybe going for like a 7 kilometer run instead of 5 kilometers. Here and there, just trying to stretch my limits a little bit more.
Yeah, just pushing yourself a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same with any athlete in the world. They're always in a somewhat decent shape.
Yeah.
They're never going to be like, yeah, I'm not doing anything for a month or two, just eating cookies and not running. And then 2 weeks prior the competition, okay, let's start now.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, here and there you go on vacation, you take some time off, and that's all right. I'm not talking about that. But in general, if you would tell them, okay, competition is tomorrow, they would still perform quite okay.
Yeah.
Right? They would maybe not the best result, because the others are probably having like 2 weeks in advance, but all of them, if you tell them, hey, you have to start the competitions tomorrow, all of them would perform quite well, because they're in general in a good shape, in a good state. And I think that's where poker players are still not taking poker too serious, and their daily routines, their daily lifestyle isn't really as professional as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of poker players make the mistake of just trying to mentally prepare themselves for specific series, like the World Series. When people go away, they're like, I'm gonna make sure I've got like a good sleep pattern. But like, you should have that already. Like if you're going to be playing as a profession, you should. Sorry, someone's just driven past my house at full speed. You should be like mentally prepared all the time, and not just specifically for events.
Yeah.
And I think this is where a lot of people make mistakes, really, because they put this pressure on themselves as well to change their lifestyle, when their lifestyle should just be like that anyway, right?
Exactly. This should be a lifestyle. Yeah, that's a good point.
In regards to studying and playing, see, obviously, because obviously you're a player first and foremost, but you're also a coach as well, right? So, what percentage would you say is good for you to study and to play? Because a lot of people are saying, I was talking to Apestyles the other day, and he thinks you should play, say, 75% and study 25%, but a good study. But then I speak to
Yeah.
other people, and they're like, "Oh, you should be studying 70% and playing 30%." And like, what do you think? Because I'm asking you because this is why we've got this chat today, because
Yeah.
I think that you're going to provide me with answers that are going to be pretty good.
I would agree that the focus should be more shifted towards playing. No matter how hard you study, no matter how good you are in theory, applying is a complete different thing. Execution is something a lot of players struggle, and that's why I think gaining experience, trying to apply what you've learned, trumps everything. So I would say at least in the 60-40 ratio. I mean, if you're truly a beginner, it's probably, but this is something like exceptional. If you're really a beginner, um, to learn the rules and basic strategies is probably more going to be shifting towards studying. Or let's say if you're in a heavy downswing and you want to regain confidence and regain the momentum, then of course you also might look up a few more sports. You might spend some more hours in the lab. But usually when things go normal and not too terrible, you want to be playing at least 60% of the time.
Sure.
And if it's really good studying, I would say 70-30, 60-40, 75-25,
Yeah.
something in that area. So I would agree what Ape Style says. I
Yeah.
think that's a good ratio for sure.
It's really interesting because like I think a lot of people what they classify as studying is like watching like a video. So say we're watching like one of your videos, but just watching the video, I don't really classify that as studying. If you're taking notes, and you are fully just focused on that, that's a little bit different. And I think that if you spend specific time studying on certain things, and like you were saying, the theory standpoint of writing things down and actually taking it in, you don't want to do too much, because if you're trying to think about so many different things that you've learned and then you're trying to apply it all at once when you come back into an in-game situation, do you not think it can just throw you a bit if you study too much and too many different things?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So you like the idea of, like, as you say, anything from a 60-40 to a 75-25, depending on how good the player is and, how their confidence level is as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially, I think a good orientation point is always when you really feel like, okay, I studied something and now I have something on the paper that I can execute
sure.
on. So that's why my content is always aligned towards that. If someone watches my stuff, can take something out of it and incorporate it in his game right away. So let's say if I study something and I see, oh well, I'm supposed to be actually open raising all these hands on the button that I was supposed to be that or I was folding before, then I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what hands to open or exactly what hands to be three-betting with. I know exactly what hands to be check raising on the flop with. So I want to exactly know what to do. I don't want to just have some generic bullshit like, yeah, you can be a little bit looser, you can be a little bit tighter in that spot. And that's very, very important, not only for listening to someone that also you take it and you try to execute on, but also for your own studying. Always try to know, okay, I've learned something, but what is it that I truly learned today?
Yeah.
What is it that I can put in my game and deploy and try to make better? And so just staying very practical, that's very important. And
Yeah.
that is also for me the definition of high quality studying.
Yeah, I think like there's a difference between your videos and a lot of other videos I've seen. You can't really cheat in your videos. you're very you're very aware of like the situation, and when you're talking about a spot, you go through absolutely everything, and you don't miss anything, which is like it's insane because whenever I watch any of your videos, I'm so focused because I'm like, well, if Bencb was watching me when I was watching this video, what would he think? If I'm not
Yeah.
taking notes, if I'm not thinking about things in the way that you're thinking about it. And as I say, when I come to situations, I'm like, oh, this is an interesting spot because I watched this video the other day. And then I think about what you did in the video in that similar spot. Obviously, like some spots are like opponent dependent, obviously. But,
Yeah.
you know, I just feel like, raise your edge. Since I started using it myself, that my game just went up massively. And like, you know, for anyone else who wants to use it, it's just it's probably the best one that's out there right at the moment. I think about what else is out there. Obviously, you've got some of the other stuff like Run It Once Elite and stuff like that, but you know, I think that they focus on specific things, whereas like you focus on everything to do with that specific situation, which is just like, it's just insane.
Thank you.
You don't really play live poker, do you?
I played this summer in Las Vegas, which was 5 tournaments. We had a meetup, an event in Las Vegas, but mostly online. Yes, I barely play live.
Yeah. Is there any particular reason why? Do you just not enjoy it, or is it just enough going on?
It's probably due to the lack of action, I would say.
Sure.
Online, you know, you can play so many tables, and however, I enjoyed it though. I think it was
a break,
fun.
Right? It's like a little bit of a break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't be able to grind a full schedule, but here and there mixing in some stops, I think is something I could live with.
Yeah. I think like specifically the mentality of live players is different to an online player. Like an online player is so like focused and like what I like to call you know, just drilled in, right? Because they're just so focused on everything that's going on, all the tables, all the stats and everything. Whereas like live, you know, you've got some man talking about his dog and then the other person's talking about his girlfriend and stuff. And there's so many distractions, whereas online you're just completely zen, right? And that's what I feel when I play live. There's so many other things that are going on that I'm trying to think about, like running a live HUD about like how many times this guy's open and you know and it's just like the very basic stuff, and you can't always do it because there's so many distractions going on. And I don't feel like that affects me like in my actual, you know, how I play, my bet size or whatever. But I think that overall for me playing live poker is a break. Like it's nice to like have a little break from playing online, but I don't feel like it's ever going to be the most profitable form of poker for me because of, you know, playing online.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, you get so many more hands online. It's just so much more profitable than playing like one tournament, because obviously the variance of tournaments is huge. So you think about when you play like a live tournament that's going to be, say, 20 buy-ins of what you would normally play online, and you're getting all that variance at once.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to play quite high live in order to make up for the
That's what
difference.
I mean. Like, I can't play anything like super small live. But then, like, if you look at some of the 1Ks at like the EPTs, Estrellas, and the 5Ks, they're not soft. They're not soft. That's the difference. Whereas, like, you can play like a 530 on stars that isn't going to be so soft. But you look at percentage of field that aren't, you know, professional players, or you look at the percentage of field that are like losing regs.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, this is going to be so much softer than playing like a live comp, right? And obviously the time as well. So it's a lot quicker to play online. As in a tournament might take 2 days and like a W Coupe, but then live tournaments go on for 3 or 4 days, you know?
Yeah.
I just feel like it just absorbs a lot of energy as well, like physical energy, playing live.
100%.
What do you think about like, you know, like Trueteller has gone over to play these games, and Linus, the big games in like Macau, you know, these huge 1K, 2K or 2K, 4K no limit hold'em games. What do you think about like the transition from, you know, obviously Trueteller and Linus have both been crushing for some time. I mean, like Linus specifically went from playing super low stakes because he used to be a handball professional, right? Something like that.
I didn't know.
Yeah. I listened to. He did a podcast, and he used to be a professional handball player, and he got an injury, and that's how he got into playing poker. And,
oh wow!
He was playing like 25 NL like 3 or 4 years ago. And so it's like, it's unreal, right? How someone can just be a handball player, never played poker before, and then 4 years ago they're one of the biggest crushers in the world. But in regards to like the change in stakes, obviously you would just look at it as big blinds. But going from playing like, let's just say 2550 to 5100 online to playing like 1000, 2000, do you not think that's like so drastic? Even if they have like backers or whatever, obviously they've both got huge roles, but do you not just think that that could be like a drastic like change in mentality towards the game? And then do you think they'll be able to return to playing the normal games that they would play before?
I think it's I think at the beginning, yes, but you also get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I played my first 100K tournament online, I was also at the beginning a little bit nervous, but then you get into it, and then you play the final table, and then it's like then you play a 25K, then you play a 50K, and of course you also have someone staking you, and it's just a matter of repetition and getting used to it. And I think they're so professional that they realize, okay, it's a lot of money. I mean, we're all human beings. We're not stupid. But at the end of the day, they will realize it's just some sort of, just investment. That's the capital. So I believe it's something that doesn't bother them too much. I also believe they have huge roles, right? They probably also have some bakers, and also the games are very soft.
Yeah.
I've experienced that myself. The higher I went up, very very easy example that actually I started with $1 sit and goes, and I moved up to $5,000 sit and goes. The toughest sit and goes were the $60, $100, $200.
Yeah, they're just
500, 1K, and $5,000 tournaments. They started also, playing some businessmen. They're not going to play $100 tournaments. They want to play so that's where you also have the biggest fun players.
Yeah.
Usually these games are much softer.
Yeah.
And also you can see when they sometimes broadcast those live cash games, they're softer than Zoom 500.
Oh yeah, well, I mean Zoom 500 is definitely not soft, right? Like
yeah,
and even like 200 zooms, like you can beat it, but you're not going to beat it at like a huge win rate. Even if you are very good at the game, like the variance is still a thing, and But like I see these games that are on, like these Triton high roller games and stuff that are on, and I see like Trueteller and Linus playing the games, and I'm just like trying to work out. Obviously, like they're obviously gonna have backers or whatever, but like if you ever got into like I don't know, like 2 million or 5 million worth of makeup, like how are you ever gonna grind out of that? Like it must be, and like the pressure it puts on you, it just must be insane, right? Like
no, I assume that the bankroll management is designed in a way that even though they have some losing sessions, they were not going to end up in a big makeup.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing to talk about because I don't think anyone's talking about it because you see these big games and you really have to think like in even like the other day the £1 million tournament that was in the UK in London.
Yeah.
How much percentage do people even have of themselves in these tournaments? And like I was looking at Hendermob the other day and they've got like the all-time money list. But it's kind of just like pointless now, right? Having an all-time money list.
Yeah.
There's like £1 million buy-in tournaments. Like I'm not taking anything away from Bryn Kenny because he's obviously like a ridiculously good player. And like I met him when I went to LA 2 years ago, and he said to me, "There is no one in this world who has ever had swings as big as me." And I think that's quite a bold statement to make. But if you think about it, he's probably gone broke more times than anyone and had like 6-figure bankroll, 7-figure bankroll, like more times than anyone than you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
What does it even mean now? Like there's no point of even having like an all-time money list if there's £1 million buy-in tournaments, and the players probably only have like 15-20% of themselves. I just think that it kind of takes away like the whole like we had the whole poker boom where people come in and play in the smaller tournaments and it getting bigger and bigger. Having these £1 million tournaments, for me, I just don't think there's much good that can come out of it apart from the fact that I don't know, maybe it's getting more businessmen into poker, but then they're not going to really want to play like the smaller tournaments, right? Like Bill Perkins isn't going to play 1K.
Yeah. It's I have a very, very different take on that entire thing. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that the entire poker industry is lacking professionalism in any area you can think of. Mm-hmm. If you think about why is football performing so well, baseball, all very popular sports, why is esports catching up year by year and exponentially growing in revenue year by year? If you think about it, like poker is not really professional at all. Like you can start with, there's not even really a ranking that determines how good someone is.
True.
So how can you identify? You want to follow the best players in the world, but you can pretty much take the top 100 all-time money list and actually ranking 98 or position 98 could be better than the first one.
For sure.
Because you don't know how much he invested. So if I would have to say something, I would make sure that there would be a system incorporated that allows you to see, okay, who's actually the biggest winner. So that would also start with tracking the losses.
Yeah.
To make sure that
they should have like a live shark scope.
Exactly, like a live shark scope. And also, secondly, to see what is actually your percentage that you were owning. Yeah. I know this is difficult to track, okay, how much action do you actually have on yourself, but there must be a way.
Yeah.
Because you can see that, I mean, I'm now in esports, I have an esports organization, and we compete in PUBG in the biggest league in Europe. And the viewers are bigger than on the poker streams, even though the prize pools are way less. Why? Because they see playing the best in the world. And you have some metrics that you can measure and you see, well, these are the best players in the world, and that's what people attract. But in poker, it's most of the time just some random final tables with mostly fun players and some regulars. Yeah, it's cool, but, and it mostly just attracts people because there's so much money on stake. Yeah. If it wouldn't be for so much money, it wouldn't get any viewers at all.
This is a thing. I was thinking about this. Rui Kao, he has like his own stable in Fortnite.
Yeah.
And like they recently like won like some Fortnite championship. I don't really know much about it myself. Like my little brother plays Fortnite and he plays like other games, but I'm kind of past gaming. That was like when I was like 15 or 16. But the money that's in it now is absolutely ridiculous. Like
but still, there's more money in poker. Like if you think about the prize pools that are being played for, like from like the amount of tournaments and the money that is going through the system from week to week, online and live, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like show me a sport or a game where even players that know they won't beat the game are still paying 10K to buy it in. Nobody would pay 1K, $500, not even talking about 10K to compete with the best in the world in Counter-Strike. Of course, they probably also have no chance of winning. In poker, you do have. Still, given the variance of the game, it shows you how much money is involved.
Yeah.
And if I compare, I know I've been watching some shows in esports, the broadcasting, the pre-shows, the mid-game shows, the analysis, the statistics, it looks like a fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And if you watch a poker stream, I'm like, there's just some random advertisement in the breaks. Then there's a desk. I mean, Triton did a good job. And also sometimes the commentators, they don't really know what they're talking about. It's like, you just face palm and like, dude, what are you actually talking about? They don't really have any professionals.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just in all areas. In football and baseball, you have statistics. It's hooking. It's like you have some backstories about the players. You identify yourself with them.
Yeah.
And I'm missing all that. Like, I'm not saying I'm here that I know everything, but I just want to put these facts on the table that this is missing. We need that for poker to make poker bigger. And that's also why I started research in the first place. That's why I'm so active in the community. I want to promote poker. I want to make poker bigger. And there has to be a way to do that. And the first things we need to tackle are to make poker more professional.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you just brought up some really valid points there that maybe no one's talking about at all. No one's talking about making poker bigger. No one's talking about making poker more professional. Everyone's just like, well, poker's just poker, and it's people think poker's dying out. But the thing is, it will die out if we don't do anything about it, right?
Not sure if it will die out. I think it will naturally attract a lot of people anyway, but it will stay mediocre in terms of viewerships, it will always have this, gambling attachment. Oh, it's gambling. Oh, yeah, I'm not interested. It will never. Poker has the potential to become something very big. Yeah. I believe it could fill stadiums if you design it in the right way, if you conduct it in the right way. But it's a definitely long way. I think we're so far behind compared to esports and not even speaking about football, baseball, all these huge sports, but
I guess Triton are doing a good job of actually presenting it, though.
Actually, that was I was very surprised. That was really good.
Who is it? Randy Lou and Lex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad combo.
That's
not the combo.
Good characters.
Yeah.
They love the game. You can hear the emotions, and that's what we need more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one loves a game like Lex, though. Lex is he's the most passionate player ever.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then also the ruling, like, you know, in some EPTs it's like there, and WPTs you have a different ruling, then WSOP you have another ruling, and then the viewer gets confused, and then sometimes they take the rules a little bit loosey-goosey, sometimes they take it a little more strict about all these anglings that's going on. The policies and the terms are not really being followed through, and, you know, they're clear breaches of the rules, yet nothing really happens. You know, it's like, that's not really professional.
Yeah,
I think
it's all like a bit here and there, right?
And then all the, like, I mean, now we have shot clocks more often. That was so much.
They
like,
have
this
to
should
get
have been
a shot clock in the WSOP.
way too late. Way too late. I don't understand. Like, even recreationals complain on how much time regulars take. It's not actually the regulars wanted this. I feel like more the recreationals got annoyed by it. Yeah, exactly. And then all this, like, with hoodies, hiding sunglasses.
It's all bullshit.
Forbid it. All of it. It's not
Rob Young's
needed.
got a really good point. Like, you know, Rob Young, the party poker boss.
Yeah.
He, like, don't get me wrong, he does say some crazy shit. But at the same time, like, getting rid of hoodies, getting rid of sunglasses, like, live poker's supposed to be fun for recreational players, right? And even for live players who are professionals, it should still be somewhat enjoyable. Because why would you do it if you don't enjoy what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And, like,
exactly.
They should just get rid of all that shit, because it's so pointless having it, because it just turns recreational players away.
100%.
Yeah, I just feel like they've got even less of an edge when they can't even see a guy's face or something. And the thing that really pisses me off, and like with the World Series, that makes me really not want to watch it on like Poker Go, because people just sit there with Jack 6 off, and they're like this. They've got their arms crossed like this, and they just sit there, and they look around, and they look around, and then they tank, and then they're still tanking. And then they just fold. And it's like, that's 30 seconds of my life that I'll never get back. How do they not have a shot clock at the World Series?
Yeah.
Like, that is absurd. Even if you give them a longer shot clock than 30 seconds, you know, for day one, give them 10 1-minute shot clocks. Or give them 10 30-second shot clocks. Something.
I think you can even incorporate something where, let's say, if you... the quicker you act pre-flop, let's say you make your decisions within 5 seconds, like just to avoid those situations, especially when you have no-brainer situations, that you get another time back chip.
Yeah.
So let's say if on 100 hands, if you acted within 5 seconds pre-flop, like say, or whatever metric is, like 40 out of 50 times, doesn't matter, but the main idea remains the same.
Yeah.
They get another time back chip.
Yeah. So instead of wasting time, you're gaining time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone has access to this. You have the choice. You can act faster. Maybe you might harm a little bit your decision making. You might make a too quick decision, but you get rewarded with another 30-second time bank chip.
Yeah.
If you want to constantly time bank and stall, even with your crap hands, and it would also help for bubble play.
Yeah.
Right? This infinite stalling.
It's just
this will also prevent the stalling.
To watch as well.
Those who act quick get rewarded. Those who act slow, they don't get rewarded. I think there's just one idea. There's so much you can do, and it wouldn't take too much of a, especially for live final tables.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit harder to conduct when the fields are huge and for every table.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah, could you imagine the World Series where they're just giving out all these time bank chips, like the expenditure like that they'd have to spend on these chips, and like
yeah,
I know it sounds like it's quite small actually if you think about it in a spectrum. That
yeah,
all it is they just need a lot more of these plastic chips, right? That they're giving to people. All right, yeah, you might need 50 per table or something like that, but the difference is this is going to speed up the game a lot quicker. Like, it's going to be so much quicker for everyone, so much more enjoyable. All this crap where people just sit there and tank with just air. And it's not even like TV time because it's on a normal table with no cameras or anything. I just don't understand it. It just
but the most harmful is when it's on TV, when it's a big final table. And that's, I think, tracking who was acting within 5 seconds, or let's say within 10 seconds or whatever, and making a statistic. Okay, after 50 hands, seed 1, 42 times you acted pre-flop within 5 seconds. Here, another time bank chip. Seed 2, only 39 times you don't get, and so on and so forth. Whatever it is, it will make it more attractive to watch it.
Man.
I had so many friends. I had so many friends that stopped watching the stream because of that.
Sure, I'm the same as well. I can't handle it, and like even so, even when I do some commentary on some of the streams, I hate just watching people tank for like no reason whatsoever. And I even say it, and I'm normally quite vocal about it because I'm just like, you're just wasting everyone's time. It's like a 3-hour stream. So if there's like a streamed cash game in Europe, we have something called Cash Game Festival, and I play on the streams and I do the commentary on the streams as well. And some of the stuff, even on like just a 2-2 no limit game or something, and people are just sitting there in the tank. It's like, come on, man! Like, what's wrong? Have some self-respect. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know, but I think it's just so much. And if we would keep talking about, there would be more things that are just being so unprofessionally handled.
I agree.
But it is how it is.
But that's live poker. That's the difference between live poker and online poker. You get all that bullshit that you don't get when you play online.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's quite an interesting thing to talk about because I know, like, obviously you say you don't really play too much live poker yourself. I don't play too much myself. So for us to have like quite an interesting conversation about it is it's a pretty good thing actually, because I think you've come up with a lot of valid points that no one's actually talking about, like time bank chips in the World Series, like this new method of where you actually gain time bank chips for not being an idiot and taking so long for every decision.
Yeah.
Just one last thing before we wrap up. I want to just have a brief discussion on your thoughts about solvers and where they're going. Like, because I know you're a Pyro wizard yourself, right? So, what's your thoughts on where it's going from here? Do you feel like there's going to be more solvers available in the near future? Like, how can you go from the most GTO methods of doing things and from there, like, is there another step?
I think it's inevitable. I think it's keep getting better, and the solvers are improving and will become more sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that the solvers give you. So here's the thing. I believe that without solvers, the game would have been much tougher today.
Okay.
So because all people think, well, with all the solvers, the games are getting so tougher. So the problem is, let's say this is like until here, this is the range of knowledge we can acquire without the solvers. And it has reached a point where we kind of knew everything. We know how to calculate odds and outs. We know that we should be calling when we're behind on the river. We should find bluffs. We know the minimum defense frequency, all that sort of stuff. We don't need solvers for that. You break down a range, look at your range. So let's say you will never play perfect, right? So, but the room to learn new stuff was very, very limited. You had the ICM tools, you learned ICM, and so on and so forth. You could analyze reshoving, all-in spots, everything.
Yeah,
so you could
and stuff like that. Yeah.
So now, let's say you were here, and with all new solver tools, suddenly the range of knowledge you get access to is like It's like you
Massively
can't see it on the
expanded,
camera. So this will give you access to so much knowledge that you actually find new things that you can exploit in your opponent's game.
Yeah.
And this will never end. This will just get better. And you have to make sure that you're ahead. You're not shy to incorporate weird concepts that nobody's doing yet. That's why this bot Libertus, or however he was called, beat all the pro players, because he was applying all sorts of different sizes, 1/10 pod, 10x pod, and they struggled playing against those huge bet sizings. Yeah. So I think that the solvers made it happen that a lot of the good players actually fell behind and other players were able to catch up.
I agree. I think it's true.
Then, of course, you also have this type of player that is lazy. It's just, seeing all these results, studies a lot, and then just executes it in the wrong way. It's like too much playing too much GTO, relying too much on GTO ranges, relying too much on being balanced, and not being able to exploit your opponent. I always try to use both, some GTO fundamentals and always trying to play very exploitative and to mix it. Yet I always try to see, how are we supposed to play GTO in a multi-way spot? What are we supposed to do when our opponents are playing like this? What are our bluffs? Oh, wow, we're actually not supposed to be bluffing so wide. Oh, wow, we're actually supposed to be bluffing a lot. Are my opponents doing that? No, they're not. So I can even overfold more. So you can do exploits, heads-up pots, blind versus blind, like in all sorts of spots. And that's the beauty about the solvers. So the solvers are not making it tougher. Actually, the more is available, the more it opens up to work on your game, to incorporate new concepts. Right? Of course, the average player gets better. True, that's true.
By like 2% though, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But you will have more opportunities to catch up, especially if you're not at the top yet. If you're at the top yet, you always have to be open. Otherwise, you fall behind. I think 7 out of 10 students that are coming to me were used to be high stakes pros, used to be beating the highest stakes possible, but can't beat them today anymore because they were slacking, they got lazy, they didn't catch up with all the pyro stuff, and thought, poker will always remain the same. With what they know, they will be able to beat the games, but they don't.
It's this ego, though, isn't it? Right, like people who
a lot of ego,
beating the game, people who have beaten the game for so long, and now they can't beat the game.
Yeah,
and like I think this is where like ego needs to be kind of put on the shelf, and you just have to go back to basics. But the thing is, I think people forget to use logic now in poker. And it sounds so simple and so silly, but it's so true. Like, okay, obviously using like GTO fundamentals and like knowing exactly what to do in this spot and what frequency we should be bluffing, etc. Sometimes you still have to use logic. If the guy is going to call you with top pair, it doesn't matter if you're going to triple off against him, and it doesn't matter what Pio says, and it doesn't matter what GTO says.
Yeah,
if you've got a guy who's like, he's calling flop, he's calling turn, and he's like not folding rivers, you can't bluff him, right? So
exactly.
It doesn't matter what GTO says. But I think this is where a lot of the players that were very good at MTTs some time ago are now bad because they're not applying logic. They're just all about GTO. And as you said about balancing both, bit of GTO, bit of logic, and like, general basic strategy with the game, and analysing your player and knowing their tendencies, is so much more important than just using GTO and just using solvers, right? And this is why people are falling behind, even those who were at the top.
Yeah.
So...
nothing more to add.
Well, that's it. That's why you have to raise your edge, right?
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, it's been great having you. And, this will be out in Bluff Magazine in September. And, thanks for coming on. And
I appreciate reaching out.
Yeah, no worries, man. And
are you going to be playing anything live soon? Are you going to be playing the EPT Barcelona?
So I'm thinking about it, but there's actually a series on a website called Microgaming. I don't know if you guys have it. Do you guys have Microgaming in Austria?
Could be, but I'm not playing it.
There's they have like a series called the UCOPS, which is like all stakes from micro stakes to high stakes, like 200s and 300s, like max buy-in. It's just very soft. It's like a very soft, low field like low field runners and pretty soft site. No HUDs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one thing I was going to ask you about as well. Sorry. Party poker taking away HUDs. Good or bad?
Good.
Good.
Poorly executed.
Yeah. But see, this is the thing. Now there's this potential new HUD. Why is it not available to everyone, right?
That's all right. Well, it's available for everyone, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's available for everyone, isn't it?
Well, I don't know what it is. This is the thing. Like, I've heard people talk about it. Is it like the old Hold'em indicator or something like that? Like,
I'm gonna play on Sunday on parties, and I will see what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's not a HUD. It's more like a replay. It's like a tool that helps you to track your statistics.
Okay.
So what is your 3-bet percentages, and it even gives you some advice whether you might be to lose or to tie.
Oh, isn't it called My Game?
Yeah, My Game. It's more statistics about your own game.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And I hope it gives you the opportunity to mark hands.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed that you weren't able to mark hands.
This is the thing. Not only can you not mark hands, you can't get the hand history.
Exactly.
Because how are you meant to review a session? Like, I get that Rob Young's trying to do good stuff for recreational players in poker to make it more fun. But for fuck's sake, man, we've got to study. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing I like more than having a deep run, and then the next day I call up my friends and I'm like, oh, shall we review this? And it's like, yeah, straight away. And now on party we can't.
Yeah.
Like, that's stupid, man. Especially like Powerfest events, because there's so many, interesting spots when you're like, obviously, because everything's like 100 big blinds on party, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I think it's brilliant because you can apply the same strategy you would.
Yeah, it's good. Like, it's good for sure.
I feel like it's good for Patrick Leonard and his boys as well. Don't get me wrong. Like, the Bit B guys, they're pretty good at the 100 big blind tournaments.
Well, before that, I think there were even deeper structures, weren't they?
Yeah, 250 big blinds.
So I think that's can be very shocking or very, how do you say, scaring.
Yeah.
Scary for recreational players being so deep. I think they don't enjoy playing so deep.
Yeah, so 250 is probably the standard though. Like in the last 2-3 years online, like 250, 300 big blinds is kind of standard. And like the 100 big blinds is, I feel like for recreational players, it's very good. But then for professional players, it's also very good because you can just apply a strategy that works best. Whereas like the KO series on Stars, I was really disappointed with it because especially the 215s and the 530s, we were starting off with 62.5 big blinds. In the 215 KO, you started off with 62.5 bigs. I
didn't play the KO series, so I was not aware of that.
You've saved 30k, let's put it that way. Like, you're starting with 62.5 big blinds.
All right. Yeah, that's weird.
530.
Yeah, I think daily majors or during a series, it should at least always start with 100 big blinds.
It has to be, right? Like, if you're going to follow suit with party, then just make it all 100 bigs. But if you're not, and you're going to keep the bounty builders the same, and you're going to keep like the big 11, the big 22 the same, you're going to keep those structures, fine. But don't bring out a series where you're going to start the highest 8 games at 62.5 bigs because it's just stupid. Because you're just all in so much, right? Do you know what I mean? You just 3-bet jacks and the guy puts you in. You're like, well, I'm not folding jacks for 60 bigs. It doesn't matter what the buy-in is, right? It's a KO as well. So I don't know. I feel like there's some interesting stuff going on with online poker at the moment. Like obviously party not having HUDs and this new My Game thing. It'll be good to experiment it and see what it's like. And then obviously Stars and their weird structures for their tournaments. What's coming up next anyway? We've got is it T Coop?
W Coop, and then I think T Coop is always in December, isn't it?
December, yeah, I was gonna say.
Or January, December, January, yeah. Winter series for sure, I guess.
Oh, the winter series is alright as long as they kind of keep good structures. It should be okay.
Yeah.
Are you gonna come to Barcelona?
No.
No. Are you gonna do any live stops this year?
Maybe spontaneous, but too busy with Razor Edge.
Yeah. That's good though.
Yeah.
It's good that you're keeping yourself busy. You know, you're working, you're studying, you got the company, you're coaching. How do you even have
Exactly.
time? I'm surprised I've even got time to chat to you today.
If you want to, you can make just proper planning ahead, a week
Yeah.
ahead, like you can make time.
Do you do weekly plans?
Yeah.
Okay. Monthly?
Let's say the main thing that I want to get done. So I say, okay, I want to read this book. I want to finish this video series. Or it's not that I plan the weeks itself. Like, okay, week one on Monday, I'm going to do this. More like, okay, I want to get this done in August. And then sometimes I get it done, sometimes I don't, because other things might come up unexpectedly. So
It's good
yeah,
to
but
plan though, man. It's good to plan.
yeah, definitely.
All right, Ben. Well, thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
No,
I think
it's been great, man. It's been good to have a good chat about stuff.
it's the first time I do a video interview.
Really? I feel
No,
honoured, man. I feel
I
honoured.
haven't. I'm not. My face isn't on out on public for so long.
I
So
know. That's what I said to you. Like, are you okay to do video? Because I know you've just done the Isildur. You've just come out.
exactly.
All right, man. Nice one. I'll
All
catch you
right.
soon.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Have a
man.
nice weekend.
Take care.
Bye.
You too. Bye bye.